how to do business in Douglas County. We really appreciate your time tonight, and we hope that you find the seminar not only knowledgeable, that you end up having some points that you take away, and we have some actionable items.
And thank you, everyone, for being here. Make sure that you do definitely talk to our sponsors, and then also make sure that you really grab all the information and learn how to do business inside of Douglas County. Thank you.
And finally, you have a notebook in your bag. You also have a couple of pens. And so we know that while you take notes, you'll be able to refer back to them during your career. So with no further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker of the evening, and that will be Mr. Ronald Marvin Roberts. Ron is an AICP planner and holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science from the University of Georgia and a master's in public administration from Columbia State University. He has over 25 years of experience working in transit and transportation, planning, and project management. Ron has worked with Harris County, the Columbus-Phoenix City MPO, City of Austin, Texas, the Northeastern Georgia Regional Commission, Cobb County Department of Transportation and Cobb Link, as well as Douglas County and HNTB Consulting. Born
a lot of our Vanport programs. But we have our fixed route and our paratransit route. And before I even get started, I want to mention that we are engaged to start a transit master plan that'll be countywide. We want everybody, every citizen, every district to weigh in on that transit master plan. We're very excited about it. I've got the project management guide from the consultants. We'll be kicking that off. So I want to encourage y'all to look for that through our Douglas County communications and to events that are coming to you soon. Yeah, we can just click through these and I'll just speak to them real quick in the interest of brevity and me wanting to eat too. So we, as FTA recipients of these federal dollars, it's a blessing to have this and to have a transit agency in our community. It's hugely beneficial. And as we work on that TMP, we're going to hone that in. These are some federal requirements. They're a little boring, but I'll tell you about them at a high level. We had a lot of projects that we did this past year. I took over officially April 1st of this past year, a date which is not lost on me for irony. But the county had identified a lot of different really good grants and grant opportunities, and they had a project list. And just next slide. This is some of our projects that we did this year, and still finishing them up. They were, you might notice our DBE participation is low, and I'll just be honest. We had a lot of projects that were identified that the county didn't contract with, or several of the projects were included in the initial goal but never procured that we've been jumping on. And the contracts that were let offered limited or no some subcontracting opportunity. So utilizing race conscious initiatives wasn't an option for us, but we want to work on that. And I'll tell you how we're going to work on that. In the May and June timeframe of this year, as we finish up this initial project list, we'll be reaching out with using the collaborative firm, using our own communications team to actually find some partners with MARTA and with ATL staff and develop another project list that'll be for 2023 through 2026. And when we do that, we're going to break those projects out and define them more, and so that there will be more opportunities for DBEs to find opportunities for these projects. So we're excited about that. Let's see, last one. Okay. Well, the last one is just our information. Again, we have 4 fixed routes. We operate ADA, American Disadvantage Assistance, American Disabled Assistance travel for the county. We really want to expand those opportunities. We want to work with the citizens here and everyone here tonight. So we're excited about it. We're excited about setting up that May and June workshop so that we have representatives there from GDOT, from MARTA, and from ATL that will bring experts that will help you. If you're not certified, they will help you to be certified, and we'll walk through those processes to get you started. And that's the good news from Connect Douglas. And I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Ron. Next up, we have Chris Evans, who is no stranger to our Doing Business annual event. He has worked with the Georgia Department of Transportation DBE Support Service representatives for over 5 years through CEI, which stands for Construction Estimating Institute, with them. Prior to this, Chris worked at Academy Operations for 10 years and served as Operation Director Manager for several businesses. Chris is also a small business owner, so he definitely knows what it takes in order to be a DBE, and has served as Operations Director Manager for several businesses. Now we will receive Chris Evans. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I need to tell everyone here that you don't have a picture of me in your little bulletin there is because I didn't give them one. I'm not hiding from the police or anything. It's just that I'm a little bit shy about giving my picture out. So just want to make sure you understood why you don't have a picture of me there. It's not their fault, it's mine. So let me ask, if you don't mind, how many people know what the DBE program is, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program is? You just sort of raise your hand. Okay. Okay. And if you don't know what it is, then that means you don't know if you should be part of it. So I'm going to try to make sure that you understand that you should if you're under the qualifications. So next slide. It's a federally funded program. Let's show here. The purpose is to increase participation by certified DBEs in project funding for the U.S. Department of Transportation. Now, each state has their own DBE program. Of course, the state of Georgia is through the Georgia Department of Transportation, and that's who I represent. Next slide. The purpose is to try to develop and contribute to the long-term of new and existing DBEs, as well as to achieve the growth and sustainability for their organizations. And part of the sustainability that I'll be talking about is not just becoming DBE, but how you create a capability statement, how you create a business plan, how you create a financial plan, how you create a marketing plan. Once you become DBE certified, we help you with those initiatives to try to help your company, and that is free to you as a DBE. Next slide. Okay, so some of the requirements, there are 6 of them that I show here. One is that your company has to be woman-owned or ethnically associated. 51% of your company has to be woman-owned or ethnically associated. Has to be for-profit. Your personal net worth has to be less than $1.3 million. That's your personal net worth, not the company, it's your personal. Your gross revenue for your company has to be less than $28 million over an average of 3 years. The 51% owner has to be able to demonstrate control and also demonstrate independence. And I'm going to elaborate on the last two a little bit. The control is basically as it sounds, is you are in total control of your company as a 51% owner. You're not being swayed one way or another in terms of how the decisions of that company goes. Independence is somewhat similar, that someone is not driving you or influencing you so much. Let's say if you were in concrete, for instance, and you left a concrete company and you came to establish your own concrete company. But the company that you're with said, hey, I'm going to put you in, I want you to become DBE certified so I can tell you what to do. That means you have, if you will, a little bit of an independence problem because now you're taking, if you will, information or guidance through your previous employee who was in concrete, if you understand what I'm saying. So we look at that very hard. Next slide. Okay. I do this all the time in terms of getting people through the DBE process. And here are a few questions that people ask. And if you have others, we'll be able to go through them hopefully at the end of this presentation. People ask if they start a business, can they become DBE certified? Yes. Primary things you need to become DBE certified as a business, newly started business, is a company bank account registered with the state of Georgia. Those are the primary things that you need, okay? They also have to have a tax ID. Once I'm certified, will I automatically become state MBE certified? If you look at on our website, it talks about the MBE, Minority Business Enterprise Program, which is under the Department of Administrative Services. We have a joint collaboration with them, so you don't have to fill out another application, which takes the same information as the DBE application takes. So once you become DBE certified, we send that information over to the Department of Administrative Services for them to look at whether or not you qualify for their MBE, the state MBE program. Now, some people may ask me or have heard about the private MBE program under Minority Supplier Development Council. That is not the same as the state. The state program is really based on tax incentives, and it is run by the state of Georgia. The MBE program is, as I said, private. The Minority Supplier Development MBE program, as I said, is private and is run by private companies such as Home Depot, Lowe's, or any other, AT&T is run by those, if you will. So it's a total different MBE program, but you can become mistaken sometime about whether or not you should become MBE through the state or private. That's something that you have to make that business decision. Can I use my home address for my company? Yes. Within the process of becoming DBE, one of the things we do is do a site visit. That site visit, now that COVID is somewhat lessened, we do actually come to your home and talk to you about various things associated with your business. Primarily, one of the things we want to do is make sure that you are the owner operator of that business and you have some detail or some influence over how that business is being run, and you have some knowledge of how to run a business. One of the other things that's needed as far as the becoming DBE certified is taxes. And some people ask me, I just started my business, so I don't have taxes for my company. In lieu of company taxes, when you're doing your DBE certification, you provide 3 years of your personal taxes. Or in the case where you've been in business for 2 years, you provide 2 years of your company and 1 year personal. It's a total of 3 years. Okay. Another thing that's needed for the DBE application process is a bank signature card. And they're in the process of changing the wording on this. What that really means is they're looking for who are the signers on the company bank account. And from the bank, You'll have to ask the bank, give it to you on their letterhead indicating that you are, or who are the signers for your company on your company bank account. Can someone help me with my application prior to submittal? Yes, that's what I do. You can make a decision, a business decision, if you want to have someone to work with you on doing your application. However, part of my job is to help you go through page by page the application process. That's, if you look online, you're probably going to find there are a number of people who may charge anywhere from $500 to $2,000 to do that. That's, again, a business decision. But it is available to you at no cost. Okay. Next slide. So I want to tell you a little bit about CEI. CEI, Construction Estimating Institute. We have the contract to be supportive services for the Georgia Department of Transportation. We've been doing it for the last 5 years, and we have, I think, another 3 years on that contract, but I hope they're not going to terminate. We will continue doing it. We do it for a number of states already. As at my last count, we provide supportive services for 7 states right now. And we'll continue doing that as long as they allow us. We're educational construction professionals. Most of the people on our staff have either owned their own company or work in construction. So they know how to run a company and know the pitfalls associated with running a company and can support you in doing that. Next slide. Okay. Supportive services, what do we do for you? Other than DBE certification assistance, which I did mention, that's part of what I do. We provide a needs assessment. We have a form that we send out to you once you become DBE certified, where you can provide us information about your company. From that information, we try to tailor construction information that we can give back out to you, or opportunities which we think would be best for you to go after, or at least links to go in working opportunities. We provide online training. Training can be from anything from OSHA requirements to can see if there's something in here for signs or signage or highway bridges or construction or concrete or signaling. Instead of doing that, we break it down by those categories. So you just go into that particular category. If you're in concrete or asphalt, you click on concrete or asphalt, and it will tell you all about the proposals that have that in it. Okay, it also provides the prime contractors that are planning on bidding on those jobs, as well as their contact information. So once you have that information, it's very easy to sort of follow the thread. The next thing you do is get on the phone and tell them that you're DBE certified and you'd like to work with them. Keep in mind, and I say this to everyone also when they look at this bid matching program, prime contractors I've found are initially interested in getting the project. The next step they have is, once they get the project, is trying to determine who's going to work on the project. The bid matching program or procurement that GDOT puts out is the initial phase. We have the project. Who is eligible to bid on the project? We'll go through a letting process. After that, they'll select who's going to be the person or company is going to do the project. And now we're at the point where they say, okay, who do you want to have work on that project? Okay, so keep in mind, you may not get a call back. I tell you this because you may not get a call back right away from the prime contractor, say, yeah, I want to work with you. Again, it doesn't work that way. Okay, just be diligent like you are in anything else. Just sort of keep on going and talk to them, make sure they're aware of who you are. We help with bonding and finance. If you have those requirements on a project, give us a call and we can help you go through finding a bonding agent. And as I said before, help developing your financial plan. We have free website and logo development or assistance. So if you already have your website and you want it to look better, we can help you do that. If you have a logo and you say, hey, I'm thinking about changing it, those are the things we can sort of go through with you. Those are free services, again, to those people who are DBE certified. Okay. Capability statements is what I like to call your business resume. Okay. So we help you develop a capability statement. It's a one-page capability statement that we help you develop. Once you agree that this is what you want, we take it, we put it on our website. So any of the prime contractors that are looking for someone that have your particular services, they can look at your capability statement and see how you will fit into what they do. We have monthly newsletters, which we detail information about projects that GDOT has, as well as try to highlight some of the DBEs which have done work in those projects before. I mentioned the construction management program that we have. As I said before, it is an all-encompassing trying to key in on individual DBEs to make sure that they have the step-by-step tools to do what they need to have contracts come their way, as well as to the point of try to introduce you, once we have that information, try to introduce you to prime contractors. Okay. We do contract review. The best way for me to tell you about this is that for a contract review, you got to have a contract. Okay. Don't just come to me and say, hey, I want to go. That's not the way we do it. Okay. So once you know that you're going to want to bid on a particular contract, let us know. We can look at it with you, try to give you some information about the contract. We're not going to give you information, if you will, say, do this. We're there to aid you because we can't take the liability of saying, hey, you told me to do this and I didn't win. No, that's not the way it works. We will give you information and try to make sure that you understand what the contract is saying. Okay. And a lot of people feel that's sort of valuable because you run into a contract and say, well, I'm not sure what they're telling me to do. And I certainly don't want to get in a situation where I've got to pay more money or, I have a liability. So we'll try to make sure that you understand that. Estimating assistance, all the way down to Davis-Bacon. Davis-Bacon is basically the system that government's put in hand where you have certain rules that go through in terms of how you put in your financial information. So we'll help you with estimating. We'll help you with some aspects of Davis-Bacon. We also do one-on-one training in any of these type of supported services or other things that you may need within your work with the Georgia Department of Transportation or working on contracts associated with that. I assist people daily on making sure that they get paid on time. Okay, that's one of the main things that people call and ask me about. How am I going to make sure I get paid on time? What are the contract requirements for me to get paid? Normally, it's about 30 days, but each contract could be different. So you got to make sure you look at your contract. Okay, there's a general perception it's about 30 days, but yours may not be that. It's 30 days after the prime contractor is paid or 30 days after something else. It could be anything. So you should look at your contract and make sure you know what you're signing before you do it. However, if you do have problems in getting paid, what we do is try to assist you to work with the project managers at GDOT to make sure they're aware of what's going on and help you go through that process, help you go through this process. Okay, we are an aid, we're the liaison to try to get you in the door when you have a problem, to try to get things taken care of. My next slide is this is my contact information. Please take your time, write it down, take a picture of it. If you have any questions about the DBE application process, and if you are DBE certified and you have questions about opportunities, how do you find opportunities, just give me a call. I'll work with you one-on-one to try to help you figure that out. The last thing I'll tell you is that many people ask me about the DBE program and if you're not in construction, well, what do? Well, you still want to become DBE certified. DBE certification indicates that you've gone through a gauntlet to indicate whether or not you're a woman-owned company, ethnically associated company, that you are a company head, in other words, owning 51% of that company. There are a number of different opportunities. The Department of Administrative Services has a database. It represents 125 different government agencies that need work, goods, or services done. So for instance, if Department of Transportation needed to have janitorial work, they don't put that contract out themselves. They send it over to the Department of Administrative Services and say, I need to have janitorial services for our building. Or I need to have computer services for our building, IT support for our building. They send that over to the Department of Administrative Services. They put the contract out. All of the other 125 government agencies that are part of DOS do the same thing. So if they need logistics, moving something from one place to another, that's not something that it's the
great things happening. We're rated about 150,000 people in Douglas County. We're supposed to grow to 195. So 195,000 people means there's a lot more growth, a lot more opportunities for businesses to thrive here in the community. And it also says that we're in the right place to be. So I'm glad you're here in Douglas. That kind of wraps up my general comments. I'll take any questions that anyone might have. Am I good? Good. Good. Oh, there's one question.
Second.
Chris,
Hello. Good to see you.
one of the big complaints has been recently that I've been hearing is affordable housing.
Mm.
And I know the governor just said he was going to fund some affordable housing so that companies coming into areas won't have as much problems attracting,
Mhm.
people. But it's pretty tough right around in Douglas County right now.
It is.
And I mean, it's nice that your property, our properties are up, values are up, but at the same time, people can't afford rents. So have you thought about how to solve that problem?
Yeah, so one of the efforts, we're currently working with Ernst & Young right now on a workforce strategy and a target sector strategy. And that workforce strategy, it's looking at all of the challenges that we have from a workforce space. Those include skills, but they also include transportation. So what Ron is doing on the transit plan is very important to us. It includes childcare facilities. We're one of the few counties that only has one 24-hour childcare facility. So we have an issue there. And it also is housing. We've got some of our employers that are actually busing people from other communities in because their employees can't afford to live here, which is crazy because I've been in Douglas since 2011, and to say Douglas was unaffordable was like, yeah, right. But that's kind of where we are right now. So it's a real issue. We do have a lot of projects underway right now, and a lot that are kind of reaching out that are bringing workforce housing opportunities. So those are in the pipeline. But I would say there's the broader view of is ensuring that the public understands what workforce housing is, and we alleviate the fears of what workforce housing is not. So it's a huge thing that we definitely need to make sure that we have the right balance of high-end and affordable housing in the community. Great question. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Daphne,
Hey,
and hi, nice seeing you again. I was wondering, with this new development that you have coming here in Douglas County, and some of the other developments that have come in Douglas County, what kind of goals have those organizations set for doing business with small businesses?
Great question. As far as those developments go, one of the things that we identified with our businesses that are in our tax allocation district. And so we created one. There's one for the city of Douglasville, and there's one for Douglas County. And one of the components within a tax allocation district, if you are to receive TAD funds, because not every development, you can't mandate things unless there's some type of kind of give in there, right? And so if you are to receive tax allocation district grant funds, there are certain requirements for doing business with minority and women-owned businesses in the community. So we have that kind of as a requirement in those instances. We haven't given any yet, so but there's an application process that business has to complete, and it is a very extensive application. It's probably a spreadsheet with 35 tabs. So yes, there is a process to apply, and then once they actually apply, and if they are to receive the funds, then there is a tracking component for those. So it's a brand new TAD. I think it's just up as of 2022. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Just as a real estate investor, one of the things that I'm looking to do is to provide affordable housing.
Mhm.
But it's been tough for me, honestly, to figure out
the channels that are available to me to work with local governments to provide these opportunities for people.
Mhm.
I even joined the Chamber of Commerce to try to figure out who I need to network with to figure that out. So that's one of my biggest challenges. Like I have the real estate available,
Mhm.
but I don't know how to reach out to the people to provide that affordable housing.
So is that, you're speaking of like the developers who actually do the affordable housing? So you hold the land, they actually do the development? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, yeah, like I own the property. I got housing available.
Yeah.
Like who can I work with within the local government, to make that an easier transition for people that are looking for it?
I can't speak per se to who within the local government, but I do know of entities that, are in that space. And so I'd love to talk to you about it.
I don't know if you know this answer to this question, but I noticed that we're doing a lot of apartments in Douglas County now. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what the goal is and, where we're going with that?
Yeah. So it's interesting, a lot of times when you get a lot of a thing, you feel like you've got too much of a thing. And so we had our last apartment development that was built before the most recent number that came up was 2007, I believe, or 2008. We generally had an attitude towards multifamily as like, we don't want it, which was a general thing kind of in suburban communities here in really across the country, but especially kind of here in the Metro Atlanta area. We went through a period of time of almost 10 to 12 years where we had no multifamily development in Douglas. And so what we're seeing right now is an explosion in that space, but we're kind of more of an underserved environment as it relates to new multifamily development. So I don't know, there's not necessarily a particular goal that I have heard of that's been communicated about we need to bring X number of multifamily houses or apartments into the community. But from a market standpoint, we just hadn't had any for almost a 12 to 13 year period. So they are coming and I'm not sure at what point that's going to stop, but it's really a zoning matter as a decision as a point when that stops. But as of right now, there are a number that are out there and there's probably a few more in the pipeline, city and county. Mhm.
So we're looking for opportunities for small businesses to participate in, construction, that roads need to be expanded, with the roads and the transportation, given
Yeah.
that we're bringing so many apartments.
Yeah, I can't speak for the local governments. That's not my space to talk to, but I would assume that there are some opportunities there, but I don't know enough about the infrastructure side to be able to answer that question. Mhm.
Hi, Chris.
Hey.
I'm Star. I'm one of the owners at Kumba Coffee.
Yeah.
And
all the time.
yeah, you do. One of the questions I have as I look for grants and things, being a business owner and also a commercial building owner here in Douglas County, is like there's this initiative called Invest Atlanta, but
Yeah.
you have to be in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Currently, they're partnering with like Wells Fargo,
Uh-huh.
and business owners that own buildings can get like $50,000
Yeah.
to make improvement on these super old buildings. Is that something that's like in your wheelhouse for Douglas County?
The only thing we currently have in place similar to that is kind of what the city has as far as facade grants goes. We know about that, but we don't have a program beyond that for any investments for rehab or anything. We dipped our toes a couple of years ago into a small business grant program to kind of support small businesses in the community, especially after they were adversely affected by COVID. But we don't have a program today in place that's similar to what Invest Atlanta has. Great questions.
Thank you. Let me respond to the question that was just asked about. The question, you guys are from Douglas. Should we do that? Should we create an infrastructure, an investment, taking out of the tax digest and putting it into small businesses? And we do commercial quite well. And Chris is a rock star, one of the top 50 executive directors in the nation for what he does. Give him a hand clap, guys. Absolutely. Thank you. But to that point, that's his focus. We do have a gap. Thank you, Daphne. Thank you. Great questions, but that's going to cost. Right? We're not Atlanta. Right? We're not investing like that. So I hear you, but it's a policy change. Got my peer here, Madam Vice Chair is up here. I'll take it up, but it will cost.
So what the work today is justice work. You're getting the information. They're stripping away barriers so you understand how to succeed in business in Douglas. Any more questions, sir?
Actually, let me ask this. How many business owners are here now? Please don't show by raise of
Oh,
hands. So basically about 98% of the room. So Julia, what would be kind of like the business case for these business owners? You know, and kind of like what is it that they need to do, even if they're not a minority business owner, but they end up wanting to get diversified, they want to get inclusive, they want to do all those things, have equity, but finally have justice within their organizations in order to do business like here in Douglas County?
That's a good question. Don't be performative. If you're truly an organization that supports D&I, make sure it's built into the structure, your strategic plan, and the DNA of your organization. Don't just do D&I. Do D&I is performative. Be D&I. That is who you are. And it's going to cost. It's going to cost. And that's the barrier for some companies, that these initiatives to really remove those structural things in place to true.
Acknowledged you earlier. You know, it isn't about the conversation, because at some point you got to take action. And you're right, we've been doing this a long time. I'll paint a picture. Back when I took office in 2008, it was a totally different landscape. Right? When I watched now, who got business, what was being put forth, how it's been passed down. And you saw a structure that it's sort of like if you went to college in the test bank and you didn't know about the test bank, and it's being handed down behind the scenes. It's being hidden. And it's handicapping. It's depraving. It's depriving, right? It's intentional. I get to say what you can't say right now. And you shouldn't say and won't say. But that's why I was elected. And this platform is just to solve that problem. I'm blind, so I don't know what color you are until you told me. It's not relevant. But it is about opportunity being equal access and treatment. That is so important that we're still having this conversation today, but it is real. And again, it does cost. But you have to seize it. You can't be afraid. You got to look it in his eye. You just got to do what you need to do to learn this system. This platform creates an opportunity for you to learn. We put great people in front of you like, are y'all paying attention? Are y'all listening? Don't leave here and just like, that was another good thing like you saw before, but you got to move, guys, because every year something's happening. So what we don't do is talk about the economics. So I'm the firstborn of the civil rights, born in 66, Batman, Flintstones, Star Trek, right? That great year, right? But this is important. In other words, you've only been voting in my lifetime. Think about it, 56 years. That's it for some. And I put that out there because this is important for us. This says, okay, but it wasn't just about civil rights, it was about economic rights. We landed on civil rights. I get it. So here we are today, and I'm looking at like, okay, guys, y'all got to get in the game. Y'all got to move. I've been in office for 14 years. That means what, about $100 million per year budget? I done spent $1.4 billion, right? David, 160 times 3 is 480, another $500 million in SPLOST funding. And yet I'm sure the statistics don't bear out that was it equitable? Was it equal? And we talk about it. But one of the things I'm big on, like, okay, stop talking about it, do something about it, put something on the table, compete, get in the game, get that knowledge, accelerate. So at some point you've got to embrace and lean in. So my question is that how far do we have to go before it really kicks in? Put the political narrative aside, I got that. But talk to us about what do you think really is needed? Is it a leadership thing? Is it workers? What do you think that the shift is really going to take to move us in the direction that it begins to really fall down? Please.
I will go ahead and give my piece, and if Julie wants to speak to any of it, I'll give her the opportunity. One thing I will say is that it takes people to care. That's the very first thing you have to be able to do. You have to be able to care. You have to be able to say, you know what, there's these opportunities that's going on. You have to be able to take opportunities in government. The Board of Commissioners will have to be able to be put into power enough to say, you know what, this is what we're going to do and stand firm on it. You have a lot of people who are always worried about what's their political narrative, but sometimes politics does not need to get into every decision. Julia talked about earlier that you have justice. Most people land on diversity and stay there. And say, you know what, I'm come from Houston, Texas. I worked in the oil industry when I started out in the 1990s. I worked in this company on the 72nd floor. It was probably like office of 15, 16 people. There was myself, a Black woman, a Hispanic woman, and a Hispanic man. And the lady came up, she was like, I was wondering when we were going to get a brother, because that was their thing. They looked at it as being something that was token. It wasn't the fact that we were invited into the rooms. We're invited enough just to do this. Whenever there's a huge project, and they say, you know what, this might not go the way we want it to go, they put myself and their other teams of minorities all on the same project. We were the same, we were all the same. So we had to go that extra step just to make sure that it got done. We spent more hours. So what was it, was there equity in that? No. Were we diverse? Sure. Did we get paid the same for the amount of work? We were told this was a project base, and we worked to get there to get the project done. So we were not offered overtime money during that time. But later on, we kept on saying, well, we keep on doing this work. We need to get paid for what we did. Another person came in and said, you guys are supposed to get equal work, equal pay. Here you go, you get the same amount. But we still weren't invited in to do everything. So therefore, where was the justice in? We were included, we were diverse, but we did not have any of the justice of it. Yes, ma'am. Oh, Julia.
I'm glad you touched on the social responsibility side of it. That's really doing the right thing, right? But since we are in a business setting, let's talk about the economics of it. You lose money when you do not incorporate DE&I. Chris talked about all the major projects that's coming to Douglas County. When certain businesses are coming to a community, don't you think they look around for certain things when they're really scoping out the community? You're leaving money on the table and you're losing money if you want to be stuck in a space where you don't want to transform. So even if you don't want to do it for the social responsibility, think about the economic parts of it and the business case for it. If we want Douglasville to be attractive, it's not just about the people that are living here. You know, I've lived and worked play in Douglasville for over 13 years. But it's more than just the citizens. We want people to feel comfortable when they're coming into our community.
Yes.
And if we don't really exercise that, and if it's not true, we're losing money in that space. So if you don't want to do it for the social responsibility, think about the economic impact it could have on the community.
Right. And one other thing I want to say is that earlier when Ron Roberts was up here for Connect Douglas, he talked about the small amount of minority and DBE participation they have in Connect Douglas. Well, on the SPLOST side, when I was brought in, it was pointed out, make sure that you go after small businesses, you go after the DBEs, minorities, even though we did not have anything in place until Madam Carthen came on board and said, hey, this doesn't look right. Madam Chair felt the same way. The Board of Commissioners felt the same way and was like, well, we need to institute something. But David, make sure that you go out there and you talk to the people and make sure that they know that SPLOST is open for them. When I first started working with SPLOST, we were at 15% here, that 15% of minority participation. Right now, as of today, we are around 85 to 86%, which means for all the projects that thank you. For all the projects that we're doing, which right now active projects is 30. Of those 30, only 4 of them do not have minority participation. That means that the other 26 have minority participation. That is a big deal because we actually made sure that it was an effort supported by the Board of Commissioners, supported by the economic development that said, let's go after them. That's why when Ron had that issue, he actually called me up and said, do you know, send me those same list of people that you have on your list. And so that's what we end up doing. So let me show our hands of all the business owners we have here. Of these business owners, how many of you guys are certified minority? Again, look at that. That's certified minority. How many of you are DBEs? How many of you are certified to be DBEs? And how many of you are fit in this DBE concept? So if you don't know that part, we have my man Chris Evans here who will tell you that you're a DBE. A lot of it has to do with just your socioeconomic setup, but it also has to do with your financial, because once you make above a certain amount of money personally or business-wise, you are no longer considered a DBE, but you're still always considered a minority if you fit into any one of those disenfranchised. Disenfranchised does not mean that you're up there begging up there for anything. It's exactly what Julia talked about. It's about being included. Since you weren't included before and there was barriers set up against you, you're disenfranchised for that. Not because of who you are, but because the barriers were there before. And that's what, and I want to go ahead and take off my MC hat and put on my SPLOST hat, because that's also where I serve in. As I mentioned before, we are 85%. We have 27 active projects, but we have over 85 finished projects. So our largest project at one time was the radio system. It was supposed to be $16 million. We got it in for about 15.6, and it was built by Motorola. Only 2 companies in the country did it. Motorola was one of them. So that's what you went out for. But guess what Motorola did? They still went after minority companies in order to do different things, whether it was putting up cement, which we actually had a minority contractor for, whether it was ones that actually sent in the install for the radios. There's so many different things that you can do. You never look at a contract and say, you know what, my company's not big enough, or I don't meet GDOT's 15-year piece. No, you can go in there and you can partner with someone who has a larger one. Through the SPLOST, which I'm in, is divided between Atlas and H.J. Russell, which are two of our sponsors. They actually are doing their current SPLOST, the 2016 SPLOST, which was voted on and approved back in 2016. I believe it was what, Vice Chair, was it 51 to 48? Is that what it was, Vice Chair Carthen? I believe that's what it was. This time we actually had our 22 SPLOST, which also was passed, which I think it was closer to like 55-45. So therefore we inching up, but as long as it gets passed, we were able to do some things out in the community. So anytime that you guys see what LaTanya Amos puts out, our procurement director, when you see that out there, go ahead and make sure you apply. If you don't have the qualifications, partner with an organization that does. Talk to people that do, because right now we have all these projects going on. From everything that Chris Pumphrey said, if you think about Project Silver, you're going to need minority participation on there. So that's not just a buzzword, as Juliet put up earlier. It's actually an actionable item. At one point in time, I wish it wasn't needed, but until it's no longer needed, then that's where we're going to keep on going. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but does anybody have any question on SPLOST? And there's a paper form like this, and there's also a cardboard form outside that you guys can connect to find out what all do we have going on. No questions? The other thing I want to do is go ahead and recognize some of the tables you see around. We have SBA right here where they're actually going to, they have some documents on certification. Everything else that falls under is the SBA 8A. Okay, so you have the information from there. We have one of our partner counties. If you're going to do business in Douglas County, it's also good to do business right next door in Cobb County. So we have Cobb County here over here at the table. We also have Ron Roberts over there with Connect Douglas. He spoke earlier, of course. So if there's, and you heard him talk about, they have low, down, what was it, 2.1%, Ron, of minority participation. If you're a minority company, you need to do some work, talk to Ron. We can get those numbers up. Are there any other tables that's here today? All right, also, let's look at our other sponsors. We have, and if anybody's from this company, just raise your hand or please stand. From H.J. Russell. There they are. We also have Atlas, CBRE Harry, the Collaborative Firm. And then I believe the other one is Landmark, who came in. They just wanted to make sure they double the table. Oh, there she is. There goes Miss Henson. Good to see you. And then I believe that is the last one. Yeah, I did good. Okay, now we will have some words from our procurement director, Ms. LaTanya Amos. Thank you. Oh.
And the sponsors, please, but make sure this, thank you guys for being here. We couldn't have done it without you guys, your presence, your participation. It brings credibility. You took the time to be here with us to help people understand how to do business inside of Douglas, and it does not go and is not taken for granted. So thank you so much for being here. We just want to acknowledge you. Thank you both. All right. Keep going, David. Keep it moving.
And here goes our mistress of ceremony. I'm just second place over here. Thank you.
Thank you, David. So as you all have heard, and hopefully are part of the witness, is that Douglas County is open for business. We are open, and we cannot be successful without companies like you, to where we can form a partnership and perform a win-win relationship. We need you. Okay, so I just want to talk about a couple of items. Number one is the partnership, right? No one in Douglas County can necessarily build a building. And so therefore we need the help of the community to build the particular building. So please keep that in mind. But as we do need you as a partner, we also are going to ask for just a little patience at time. We may not at this current time or today need your particular service, but we may need it in the future. And so we ask that sometimes you're patient, just not today, maybe, a little later. The next thing I want to mention is to network. The room is full, and so no one here should leave without meeting someone. And I would encourage you to talk to everyone at your table and get to know the people at your table if you don't already know. Exchange numbers, exchange information, because if there isn't an opportunity, let's say in Douglas County, someone may know of an opportunity in another county or within the city limits in Douglasville. Again, network, network, network. Please visit the tables. There's a wealth of information. Cobb County is here, but also with that, please understand that from a government procurement perspective, I'm the director of procurement for Douglas County. City of Douglasville, City of Austell, the City of Villa Rica have different procurement policies and procedures, okay? They're totally different and they have different laws. And so sometimes it can be confusing and I have received phone calls about opportunities, and once talking to them, we realized that it wasn't my office, it was another office. And so I will guide them to that particular location or contact person. With that, please register, right? You don't know what's going on. And the only way to find out is to register. So I need you to register to receive bids that Douglas County puts out. You may have to register for bids for the City of Douglasville and all the other separate entities. And so what does that mean? Well, there is an opportunity in the county, a threshold that's a little large. We definitely place bids. And so all of the qualifications for the bids are particularly listed. So I'll use the construction one, for example. You're registered, you have to register using a particular NIGP code. And let's say there's a construction bid and you place your bid, but you don't actually, you're not awarded the bid. But because everything that we do in government is public, the person who did win the bid or the company is posted on the website. Then that can be an opportunity for you to reach out to see if they need a sub. If you do grading of property, that is an opportunity. So I may not ask for land to be graded, but if there is a construction project of a new facility, the land must be graded. And so that's an opportunity to reach out to the company who won the particular bid. And again, one of the things that was passed by the Board of Commissioners was a resolution that we have a 15% target for DBE spend for bids. That can be as a primary or a sub. Okay, so now if you work with a company that was awarded a contract with Douglas County, you could qualify in working with them. It helps us meet our particular goals, and then it helps you as a company or organization. But with that, I need everyone to register. I need everyone to be certified. It is so important to complete the certification process. We have different funding sources, and that's federal, and state, and local. And so a lot of our projects that Ron is responsible for is federal funding. And if federal funding requires DBE spend, the only way we can prove that we had DBE spend is if you are certified. It's not a waste of time. It's just a little bit of work, maybe a lot of work initially, but it can go far. And it's not just when you're on the DBE list, it's not just me looking for DBE certified vendors. Our sister organization in Cobb County can attest, they are looking for it as well. So sometimes as procurement professionals, we don't notice you're out there. I believe I'm passionate about small businesses, passionate about minority businesses. I know that there's someone in every particular category. But if you don't register, and when I go to search, if you're not there, then I don't know that you're there. And so I do want to encourage you. And if you have any questions, please give me a call. And then lastly, I would like to encourage everyone to research. Chris talked about the opportunities in his organization at GDOT that can definitely help you push your business forward. Ron talked about Connect Douglas. Everyone has a particular website for you to find a lot of information. If you check out the Douglas County website, I update it on a regular basis because some things are just germane to doing business in the county. So besides the DB certification, learn about E-Verify if you're not familiar with that. And if that is a requirement. But once you get all of the basics covered, then it's an easy process. So when I pick up the phone, I call, can you provide me with a quote? If we want to award you the business, then we can move very quickly if you already have your paperwork in order. Sometimes too, it's just a barrier to entry when we have to wait for a particular vendor. But there are opportunities for you to learn exactly what you need as we are here tonight, trying to inform everyone. And then lastly, I want to encourage everyone as a business owner to be coachable. Coachable. Every entity that you would do business with has different business requirements. Yes, I will need an application. And yes, I will need a W-9. Someone else may not require a W-9. Someone else may not require the forms that we will require. But I'm just going to encourage you that as a professional, if we ask for it, we definitely need it. And I know you don't always understand why or the why nots, but even in this profession, in this field, please have trust in us. We have certifications, but we also have laws that we have to follow as well. We have Georgia law, the state law, we have county law, we have federal law, and then we just have policies and procedures. And so it is a partnership. And so we just ask that you give us patience. You definitely network, but finally that you are coachable. Are there any questions for me? Yes, ma'am. Okay, so if you go to Celebrate Douglas and celebratedouglascounty.com and then select, and I apologize, there is, you have to search for the purchasing department. And then there's a link to register. Let me say this, I apologize. In your bags, there is a postcard. There is a QR code that we created. If you scan that, it takes you directly to the application. I forgot. I did that early last year. That would take you directly to the vendor form. Okay, so if you have any questions about the vendor form, please give my office a call. But that's just to be a vendor. Now, if you would like to be notified about bids, the county is, we post bids on a company website called BidNet. That is under the purchasing webpage. And so every bid that I post, if it falls under your NIGP code, then you will be notified about the bid. So I've mentioned NIGP codes twice. Is everyone here familiar with the NIGP code or what it is? Okay, great. So you'll be notified about an opportunity, and really with BidNet, you'll be notified not only about Douglas County's opportunities, but any other entity that uses BidNet as well, right? It's not just for Douglas County. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
For business incubation,
Mhm.
where we actually help people walk people through this kind of qualification and just the whole process, especially small businesses. They have such a hard time, they don't have the staff or the know-how. And this was in California. And in California, we have a lot of the economic development piece is working with small businesses to help them get registered to become vendors. And I know we've talked about it often in Douglas County, but I don't know if we've actually done it. But have you thought about maybe holding some of those kind of workshops?
Yes, thank you so much. And I've mentioned this publicly at the Board of Commissioner meetings that yes, I am willing, just haven't had an opportunity yet. My 1-year anniversary date is coming up with Douglas County, February 1st. And so I will be forming and having workshops to walk people through the process. Sometimes the words we use, it's just not familiar with everyone. If I ask someone, for a capability statement, some small business owners don't even know what that is or why they should have it. And so, yes, that is a goal of mine. And just to mention the Board of Commissioner meetings, I would encourage you all, if you can't come in person, to really look at the website, because the commissioner meetings, we go through the business of Douglas County, and a lot of that is upcoming bids. That is another way of not only learning what's going on in your county, but how we're spending your money and what's being approved. And so I will encourage you all, you register, you find out information, but sometimes it's just putting those puzzle pieces together. Like, how does it all work? And so I would encourage you to watch the board meetings. I mean, yes, they can be, long at times, but they're very informative, especially from a business owner perspective. Any other questions?
Thank you. I have a question, and it's piggybacking off of what you said, ma'am, because I thought that was good.
Mhm.
This meeting has been so helpful. So thank you to everyone that put it on. It's been, there's people, I didn't even know like your name, but I'm familiar with procurement. As a second piece, though, I think that it would be really amazing. As I'm looking around, I don't know probably 90% of the business owners in this room.
Mhm.
And I have a feeling that the answer to some of my questions and maybe some of the other business owners lies in this room. So would you all ever consider just like a networking, almost like a problem solving session where resources are even available here
Mhm.
to us? So as you're doing business in, Douglas County quarterly, the businesses are getting together. There's resources and people that we can ask questions to as well.
Please reach out to me, because that is a great idea. I could ask you with everyone in the room, if you want, a lot of you all pre-registered, and we have some that registered on site, if you're willing to have your email shared, right, with everyone that's here. Because again, your next opportunity or your next partner could be sitting right here in the room, or someone who has an answer to a question that you may have. And so if that is a general consensus, I can send out the list of everyone who registered tonight, just so, and if anybody objects, please let me know. But again, earlier I stated network. Yes, sir. We have another question?
Yes.
Thank you so much. And I want to echo what you said. Thank you so much to the organizers for planning this. Since you mentioned networking, this reminded me of something. I went to a very similar program that was hosted by another county.
Mhm.
And I wanted to see what was very helpful for the business I work for was they provided a list of all the contracts and who had the contracts and when they expired. And I was wondering if that's something that maybe Douglas County, if that's available, so business can see who currently has contracts and maybe can start networking so they can be in preparation to either team with people or understand when opportunities will arise.
Okay, thank you. No, I do not currently produce a list, but I can produce a list of contracts. So the community will know. Remember, we are public because we are a government. Everything that we do is open, i.e. who we're doing business with on a daily basis. So I will, that is something that I can do. Don't have a deadline right now, but I can. And we have one more question, right?
Not a question, but more of a statement. So I'm a member of the Douglas County Chamber. And over the summer, the Douglas County Chamber did something really, really awesome. And they initiated a free level of investorship for small businesses. So a lot of businesses, yes, you do have to pay to be a member of the chamber, but Douglas County came out this summer and said, you know what, we want to come out with a lower level investment level that is free for small business owners, which allows you certain access to different companies, to different networking events and things of that nature. And I think that it would be an awesome opportunity for all of you when you leave here tonight or in the morning Douglas County Chamber, Google it, go on there. The steps are pretty simple, pretty easy for you to sign up, and you'll get updates, emails and different things like that about events that they host. They host roundtables for people in the restaurant industry and the finance industry, healthcare, all different types of things like that. Next Saturday, there's a huge ball that's happening where we're recognizing businesses in the county. And that's a wonderful room to be in, to be networking with certain individuals, whether they're small businesses or some of the larger businesses in the county. So I definitely suggest, if you are not a member of the chamber, you become a member of the chamber. We've been a member of the chamber roughly 3 years, and I can tell you it's one of the best business decisions we've ever made.
Thank you. So the next person coming to the stage is Commissioner Kelly Robinson. Commissioner Kelly Robinson, who is the immediate past Vice Chairman of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners, represents Commission District Number 2, and whose district represents 51% of the entire county's tax digest. Commissioner Robinson is the county's longest reigning commissioner, completing his 4th year term. He is also the county's chair of the Finance, Transportation, and Economic Development Committee. Professionally, Commissioner Robinson is the CEO of Archie Mae, which is a national housing and finance company. He has also served as Senior Vice President at Wachovia Bank, over a $4.5 billion portfolio, and worked as an international corporate strategist in 4 countries, those being London, Hamburg, Madrid, and Tokyo. Finally, he is a certified part-time instructor at Georgia State University, where he has taught statistics, entrepreneurship, and strategy. His education is also from Georgia State, where he holds a BBA in marketing and a Master of Science in Strategic Planning and Entrepreneurship. He has coordinated, spoken, and participated in over 100 conferences and seminars in his career, with a primary focus on new enterprises and finance. Let's put our hands together and welcome Commissioner Robinson to the stage.
Thank you, ma'am. I got it. Thank y'all, ladies. Good evening. All right, I'm gonna try to close this out. What do you think about this? Yes, clap, no? We gotta turn this up. I'm humbled in just sort of listening to the wealth of speakers. When we started this journey 7 years ago, it was just, I think it was me, myself, Dr. Robert Watkins. At that time was Tiffany Stewart Stanley. She was brand new. She wasn't up but 2 months old at that time for us. And we've come a long way. And I knew this again when this started, that it's all about education. It's always about education. It's always also about history. And you got to remember both. You got to know the history of something, but also you need education to move forward. That's what guides you. And as I listened to the speakers, and this was the best one ever. This is my 7th year, and I'm pleased because, again, as you guys know, next year is my last year, and so next year will be the new beginning, where I can actually sit down and eat. Do y'all know in 7 years I've never sat down? I've never eaten, so I get to enjoy the food next year. But it's important because what was important was to institutionalize this. It should live beyond me. That's important for all of you, right? This will live on beyond me just being the catalyst for it. That's important. I've got to thank Director Latanya Amons and Mr. David Good for their participation, but really those two, y'all got to take this forward. Guys, let's give them a hand clap for what they did. Thank y'all for pulling it off, as well as the rest of the staff that pulled this off. Equal opportunity, equal access, equal treatment. This is Douglas. And to know that it has been transformed, but it wasn't just transformed by some narrative. It took real work. So I've got to thank my 2 peers, Madam Chair and Madam Vice Chair, both for once we came together, it moved. There was no fear. It was the right thing to do. Yes, there was a consciousness, but it was just the right thing to do to open up Douglas County. Let me say, historically, people looked at Douglas County, they didn't want to come to the county. They thought it was closed. Only the elite, those born here, were participating. So I've got to tell the history so that you know what we're doing, so you will have context. It shifted. Now, we're not talking about, to your point, Julia, about the status quo and cancel. No, we're about expanding the status quo. Everybody gets to participate. Here we are taxing you, or, we're taxing you, but yet are you benefiting from it? Right? Yes, I know you get a park and some street lights and some bike lanes, but for you guys who are enterprising, what about you guys? And this is important. This platform is so important. I do appreciate forward? Who's gonna step forward and really incubate those eggs See the mountaintop, I get it. I won't get there for you guys, but I see it. You're gonna have the money, you're gonna have the blueprint, the rest is gonna be on you. There will be no more excuses than that, it's like, okay, now what's your excuse? If I can get up in the morning and keep moving. We appreciate your time. Oh, what do you guys think about the food? Was it okay? Did we do okay? Did it work? Did it feel you? Oh, that was sort of social. Yes.
And where do we go to sign up for the class?